officially the last night in Vegas for the Mr. Olympia. And I tell you something, getting to see Ramon take it was nuts. And also just knowing what it was, well, I mean, I don't know what that's like. That's its own separate world of things. But at least kind of imagining to a degree what it must have felt like for him to be sitting up there just, I mean, Ramon's been shown out forever. And frankly, I've kind of been a Ramon fan even a long time ago. Not exactly, not in a personal sense, but like just looking at him, he's a freaking freak, arms, like probably, at least in some kind of ratio, the biggest forearms anybody has. Like, it's just crazy. So that was awesome. That was freaking awesome to see. So last night, got some back day. Or no, not last night, but this is the last night. I've got some back in the plan. Well, I wanted to go to Fit Club, but they're closed, and I don't want to, sometimes, especially Olympia weekend, gyms kind of, the hours are not exactly a rule. It's more of a, like, those are our regular hours. We'll extend it. Let's just keep it simple. Let's just keep it simple tonight and head back to Dragon's Lair. And by now, everybody's kind of back where they belong. Everybody's headed back. I know a lot of the guys that I was kind of with, James, they're all headed back to, actually, no, James isn't going anywhere. He's going to be stateside for like the next month, he was saying. But no, for the most part, everybody who showed up for the Olympia, the expo, the show, nothing going on today. They're all headed back home. They're all going back to A, either get their work done, or B, just wait till next year and watch, right? Not exactly that that's a bad thing, of course. Eventually, I'd love to get to a point where it's, old rocking chair Sam watching whatever the hell everybody else is doing workout related and saying, I remember when I threw 15 over my knees at that gym. Yeah, that was a while ago, right? Something like that. But now, man, come on, we're in it, right? We're in the middle of it. We got shit to do. So I can't speak for everyone, but for me specifically, this weekend just got me freaking amped, because if I'm going to go, if I'm going to compete at the Arnold and I got my invite from winning the amateur show, these are the guys I'm up against, right? So I want to at least, hold my own in a degree. I know I'm going to be bigger and leaner than last time, so for me, that's already going to be a big improvement, and that's kind of the whole point, just being better every time, which is cool. But knowing that that's the comparison, it's gonna get me going a little extra, because I know that's what it's gonna look like. But I don't exactly have to, I don't feel a time crunch per se right now. I've still got quite a freaking while to maintain a steady course of a calorie deficit, get leaner gradually, and we can think about that closer to when that comes around. But yeah, so tonight, I'll see. I'll see. I'm not sure I want to go extra wild in terms of heft, but a lot of times I say that, and then I kind of throw it out the window once I get started, where it's like, okay, I got this idea in my mind of maybe a style or maybe a whatever, but I think some of it's just a little, it's too hard to predict, right? I want to actually get into the gym, see what's around, actually warm up and feel, and then that's my either green light to rip it and go nuts, or that's my cue to maybe back off, chill, do a little more squeezing, and just play a little safer. Not that, I never want these workouts to feel like I'm not safe, or like I'm gonna hurt myself or whatever. All I'm getting at is, like, there's a time and a place for a hefty set, or a couple of hefty sets, and there's a time and a place to kind of back off, lighter, more squeezing, burning work. As long as your effort is there in both cases, well, then you're good, right? But I think guys where there's old videos of nobody specific, but they're basically saying, like, I would visualize the workout all day, every set, every rep, running it through my mind, exactly what I'm going to do, and then I've already been through it so many times in my mind, all I've got to do is show up and execute, which I've definitely caught myself doing, especially with squats. When I was new to really heavy squatting, I was kind of worried about it the few days before, not in a conventional, like, worried about a test sense, but in this weird kind of subconscious, just like, holy shit. Because, you know, it's, if you've ever put anything over 4 plates on your back, I mean, it's not nothing, right? It's a substantial amount of weight. And it's almost like my nervous system itself knew to be kind of weary, just because it actually demanded, like, you know, a pretty substantial amount of respect, just so you don't snap your freaking spine in half. But beyond that, I mean, you know, I can sit and imagine myself hitting some chest and some pull downs or whatever, but, you know, I'm not going to pretend that I know exactly how every lift is going to go, because every lift I want to be able to adjust. You know, I want to be able to change, and maybe, I mean, sometimes, shit, you just got to adapt. Like, what if we come in here tonight and the gym is completely packed, full to the brim, you know, 10 minutes between movements? Well, then, shit, man, you might have to be a little bit tactical to even get your sets in and, right, get your work done. So I think that ends up all adding up to a situation where, you know, the more resilient you can be in terms of random, quick changes to your training, the better. And I think at the opposite extreme of that kind of side of things isn't cool, right? What am I supposed to do? Come into the gym, say I'm doing chest, say I need an incline bench, and then the incline bench is taken, and what do? Do I just drive home? Do I just get in the car and freaking leave and say, all right, all done. That's not going to work today, right? That's just a little too silly. But yeah, 7:30 shouldn't even be too freaking late. I would not be surprised if there's some beasts lurking in the depths, or maybe not the depths, but the dark is a little bit of a better description. So let's just stop talking about it and actually get in there and get started. 3 plates here. I tried 4. 4 is too much. Okay. Two more of those, then we'll move on. Let's row. Let's freaking row something. No, pull down. Let's pull something down. All right, I'm normally one to say straps or bust, but with the grip of this handle and what I want to do on this set, I'm okay to go strapless. So those rows were pretty controlled. I got a little nasty at the end, but they were basically squeeze, hold, stretch, really good tempo. So I want to change it up with these pull downs and do alternating reps, 5 on the right, 5 on the left-ish. And then basically every time I hit 5, let go, grab from the other side. And instead of a slow squeezing holding set, I'm gonna be a little nastier with it, kind of quick. And I don't see a problem with a set like that if that's the point. I don't want every set to look like that, of course, and I would not recommend it. But for some, like if I'm sitting on leg extension, you know, sure, I can sit here and do a set of, you know, light squeezing, holding, burning, super slow reps and get a pump and get my quads burning. But also if I start ripping it a little quicker, like I'm not letting the weight float in the air and then catching it like that, but just faster paced, pumpish reps, I do like it. And I think there's a place, right? It's a yin and yang. For every super clean squeezing set, I think you're okay with a little bit of a, you know, quicker, nastier one, you know, within reason. And that's a very important part of that statement. But let's get real here. Yeah. 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 Badass sets of rows. Badass sets are kind of a machine pull down. Let me see. Let me see what machine speaks to me. Okay. Let's find a finisher. We're gonna post that. All right, this very well may be set numbered last. Oh. Okay, these D handles are different lengths. It'll be all right. I'm not so OCD that that's gonna throw me off, but maybe just a little. All right. No. Yeah. Let's put it down. Back complete. And now Vegas trip complete. Okay. You tell me. So this is like a fancy pants anamorphic lens. Is this like, did this video look cool? Like, this isn't Sam bodybuilder talking. This is Sam video nerd talking. I feel like it looked kind of cool, but I don't know. Sometimes if you've been watching for a while, when I bust out like one that really looks kind of different. Sometimes it's too much, but I think this one's kind of freaking. This is the part that's fun for me. That's for sure. But let's see how we're looking. So, yeah, we got something going on. All right, I might need to. Yeah, this is solid. So yeah, only a short 7 months ago, I was sitting here absolutely peeled, which I want to return to that look. It'll take some time, but yeah, let's see how we're looking here. Yeah, I gotta really, actually, let's walk all the way forward. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, let's get one more back shot in here. I want to do one more freaking. I just want to run through all of them one more time. Oh, all done. Let's roll. All right, there we go. Officially time to freaking roll. But that was quite good. Let's just say that was yeah. No, that was a good workout. Let's make sure I get the. So I'm not texting and driving here, but I am making sure I get the maps right so I know where I'm headed. But that was good. I'll tell you something. They know what they're doing over at Dragon's Lair. But it's got to be interesting. What I do think has got to be interesting is if that's your home gym, or if you're if you're always going to what is it? The Pros Gym in Columbus, where every time the Arnold comes around, it just gets packed like sardines just for a couple of days, and then it kind of goes back to normal, which we're kind of going to experience pretty soon now. Right? I mean, what? Today's September. No, today's October 12th. October 12th. So how many more days are left this year? Right? I'm talking, we're going all the way from October to October, November, December. So 2.5 months, man. 2.5 freaking months. Essentially a fifth. A little less than. Actually, is that about a fifth? What's 2.5 times 5? Yeah, 80% of the year gone. Sometimes I think that thinking about like life and progress and achievements on a year-by-year basis is a little limiting, because what if the shit that you want to do is going to take more than a year, right? So, you know, but it definitely is a way of looking at things, because it is a certain amount of time, you know, and it's just a natural progression, right? Every year, new seasons, kind of a sort of a rebirth of everything. Like, I want to have stuff to show off, not even show off in like a show-offy way. I'm saying, like, I want to is either become a different guy at the end of the year from the beginning, or have done things that are different enough that now I'm in a different position. Like, just, I want things to change, you know. You never want to be stagnant. And I think that's the way I kind of, let's say, act on that thought is like, you know, I want to keep things moving, man. Right? You got to keep playing the game if you want to win. So in terms of the working out, sometimes that's not fun and flashy. Sometimes that's sitting on a cardio bike for an hour in the morning and an hour at night if you're really trying to crank it with a diet. Or, you know, sometimes that's not eating foods that really get your dopamine going, and you got to sit and just, like, you know, eat a bowl of ground beef that maybe you're not super kind of hungry for. And it's not because of you just want to do it, or you want to, like, deprive yourself, or, like, you know, some kind of masochistic thing. It's just a, you know, want versus willing kind of situation, if you feel me, right? So we all want this, but are we willing to do what it takes to get it? You know, so when it comes to working out, in the sense of, I think dieting is probably the most universal version of this, because whether you're a 290, damn near 300 pound bodybuilder like Urs, or if you're just a 200 pound dude and you want abs within the next, like, 6 months, guess what? You both have to do the exact same thing, right? You count your cardio, or, you count the minutes of your cardio, but you count your calories, you limit your food intake, you make sure that you're, like, dietary-wise on track, and then you wait, right? And you try not to get discouraged from that waiting period, because you know, and you can kind of accept, this is going to take a while, but I know I'm on track, and I know what I'm doing is going to, you know, take me to where my goals are. So you're willing to just, you know, kind of wait it out. And a lot of people aren't. I think there's a lot of wants and a lot of, like, you know, oh man, if I did that, that'd be really cool. Just, you know, a lot of things that people probably want to do, or would like to do, or think they'd enjoy doing, or even in a little bit more of like a vain sense of, like, I just want to show off that I could do it. That just doesn't happen, you know. It doesn't get past that initial idea stage into actualization and action, because, you know, it's easier to sit on your phone for 20 minutes and just forget about it, right? And it's not as though, you know, I'm like 100% efficient, Gary V style, like, you know, whatever. Like, but I know that the things that I do want to get after, and the things that I do want to really get involved with and put my energy into, and, like, just see the results from, primarily kind of for my own sake, because, like, the better you get at something and the more proficiency you build, the confidence that you get. Like, I'm not saying, like, you're walking around, like, thinking you're the shit. It's just, like, you know, the more progress you make in the gym, the way I look at it, at least in terms of, like, how that changes someone as a person, is it, for one, like, shows you were willing to do something that's kind of difficult, takes time, and you can't really just, like, skip around with, right? You're never going to pass a class if you didn't study and you, like, don't know any of the material. So to be in a different state physically, it's almost just proof that you can exert your will into the world and make a substantial change. And it doesn't have to be drastic. It can be as small as, you know, getting back down to your waist size that you were in college, which, you know, you haven't worn those jeans for X years, right? For some, that is the goal. And I think we get into a bit of a comparison mindset where it's like, oh, you know, there's always, you know, we're looking at the top 0.01% as though that's the status quo, right? And in a way, for some, that's like, you know, like, whatever, right? There's always a bigger fish, right? There's always someone who's crazy ahead of you, maybe because they worked harder, maybe they're just lucky, sometimes that happens too, or whatever. So I try, or, as much as I might try not to, I do think it's probably a better situation to just, hyperfixate on your own stuff, right? And try to get yourself hyped from making your own gains and your own progress in anything. I'm not a therapist, but I think, sometimes being able to just be objective with situations, admit when you're wrong, like shit like that, sometimes that helps, right? Sometimes that helps, because if you can be accountable for, like, just little things in your day, then the big things that you really want to do, you might hold yourself to the same standard and actually make it happen, right? But that's just one lifter's thought, right? That's just the thought of one guy who enjoys getting a back pump every couple days with a chest pump and an arm day and a solid leg lift in between, things like that. But yeah, this is gonna be fun, right? And every year, I think, between every expo, I always say the same thing, right? Everybody's going back to where they're from now, a little bit more reinvigorated. They've got a little more excitement. It was pretty funny. That red-haired guy, I saw, we took the same flight to Vegas, from Chicago, and I remember, I basically knew he was coming to the Olympia because the dude was freaking huge, and so that was just a little bit of a cool kind of coincidence that I ran into him there too. I should have. Well, I guess why would I take a picture? But it's totally unrelated to what I was just saying. But I just remember that part. But I know that everybody is now a little bit more amped, right? I think overall excitement about working out specifically is here, right? It just got bumped a couple of points. It's like a company doing. Whoa, I missed my exit. Shit. But it's like a company doing an IPO or something. It's like everybody is freaking amped. Like, this is the shit. So what I really would like is that energy is maintained, because if you watch Ramon sitting there waiting for them to announce his name, and then they finally did it and he got it, and just, that's pretty freaking motivating. That's as motivating as anything I could freaking think of right about now, right? But how quick is that ampedness? How quick is that excitement for working out gonna fade, right? At least for some. Because I think, if you're at an expo and you're walking around and you're seeing, basically the top guys in the space, be it like a Hafthor Bjornsson or like whoever you look up to, and you're like, dude, holy shit, they're right there. Like, every time I see a guy I've never seen before in person, I still get that same excitement. I'm like, dude, holy shit. It's it is just freaking fun. But I can definitely see how, you get a little bit of an elevated sense of hype, and then once it comes to the actual work part, once it comes to the actual cardio and calories and training days where you weren't really excited for it, you're kind of tired, things are off, that kind of motivation can, begin to fade a little bit. I think I'm spoiled in the sense that I'm almost always excited for training. Like, things have to be going pretty bad for me to get thrown off my game training wise, right? Like, it's pretty hard to get me derailed from, like, knowing I want to get after it. But even on the days that it is like that, where I'm like, oh, all right, I can't remember the last time that happened, but the days that are like that, I still try to spin it in a weird way, where it's like, you know what? I know a lot of guys would skip this leg day. I know a lot of guys would take today off just because they're a little tired. And then it's like a little bit of an ego thing for me, where I still do it even though I know most people wouldn't, right? So whether or not that's a good mentality or bad, sometimes I think you could definitely overdo it if that's your logic. But to an extent, I think that's cool, right? Because now you're the guy doing something that nobody else is willing to do, right? So that gets me excited. So even, once the actual kind of Olympia hype maybe begins to fade a little in my mind, which I don't think it's gonna, but even if it did, I know that anytime there might be a little bit of a roadblock, I like to just imagine a statistics, right? Where every situation that you might be in that could be a little tricky, where it's like, okay, man, you know, it's a really busy gym, you know, you had some shit going on, you might not really feel it, or just anything. Like, imagine any set of excuses, and behind every excuse is a number, and it's the percentage of guys that said, and then they feed the excuse, and then they slack off, versus the percent that make it through, overcome it, and then now they're a little bit more of a baller because of it, you know? So I think with, you know, let's say it's a leg day, you're tired, how many times does legs get skipped like that? Over 50%? Over 70%? I really hope not, you know, but whatever that number is, I want to be in that small percentage group. I want to be in the minority that hits it when everybody else would rather chill, right? Or when everybody else, you know, nobody's watching. I mean, I've had lifts, and, you know, I probably should have just gone to bed, but I had lifts in high school when I was still a 170 pounder where, you know, it's midnight. I got to be awake at 6 a.m. or, you know, like 6:30. About 6:30 if I want to get dressed and actually catch the bus or, you know, drive to school, whichever one. And it's like, okay, I haven't hit chest today. Like, I might have procrastinated an essay or a project or something, and it's like, oof. And then what got me amped up was, you know, that was the first time I ever watched Baki. Was I'm sitting there like, shit, Baki would hit chest right now. He went slack off. Oh, that's fucking cool. Now I want to do it, you know. So I think that's not a bad approach. Now it might seem a little bit crazy, but, you know, you almost want to welcome a challenge like that, because it's just another basically kind of situation for you to prove how much you want it, right? I think it would be a little weird to, like, hope for things to not go your way just so that you could overcome them. Like, I think you've lost the point there. But you definitely want to be a guy where no matter what might get thrown at you, you're not going to get rattled. You still can clearly see at least where your overall kind of plan is, and just, you know, make sure you move closer to it, even if just by a little bit every day, right? Because the guy who got 1% better every day versus the dude who just stayed where he was, I mean, what's 1% compounded over 365 days? It's a pretty big multiple. It's like 20 times or like 30. It's bigger than you think. It's probably bigger than that, right? So working out isn't like that. You're never going to be 30 times bigger at the end of the year. But the idea of that is kind of just what I'm getting after. But yeah, plan tomorrow morning, get back on a flight to Ohio, and I've got some gym. It's not exactly renovations, but I want to, that whole kind of platform I put up, I want to, like, put carpet down. I think I might just go to Home Depot and, like, get some carpet rolls, because it's not like a house where you got to actually put it under, like, the siding. Like, it can be a little bit more basic than that. So I think I'll try to beef it up in that way. But yeah, no Vegas fiasco, no Vegas, you know, I'm not leaving Vegas this trip with a, what's it called? What's the Vegas movie? I'm not leaving Vegas with a hangover story here, you know, but I'm sure some people did, which is kind of crazy to think about. But still on track, getting ready to be freaking peeled. I mean, yeah, probably end of November. Freak factor is going to be up to here, and I am certainly not demotivated by the fact that it's going to take a little while to get there. Because if I know I'm in that trajectory, shit, man, it's just a waiting game. Right? And I know I can wait it out. And I know I'm going to still keep hitting my lifts and tracking my food and everything else, even if I'm not exactly as lean as I want to be. Because if I didn't track anything, well, then I'd never get as lean as I want to be. Right? You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like you got to be a little more focused on what induces the progress rather than the progress itself. Right? If you kind of follow me. Right? Like a teach a man to fish versus give a man a fish kind of analogy. A little different, but, you know, teach a man to lift versus whatever. But yeah, that's all I got there. I can conclusively say this is my Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of obvious. This is my favorite Olympia so far, but I might be a little biased just because it just happened. But no, next year, if you're around, if you're, within a couple hour drive, or you can swing it and make a flight over, if you've never been, even a Fit Expo or an Arnold or whatever, and you're into the gym even a little bit, it is fun to see. Even just to walk around, plus you get to leave with a bunch of free samples of everything. I remember the first time I went to an Arnold, this would have been 3 years ago. I went with a college crew. I don't know, we had like essentially a full duffel bag of just energy drinks, because that's the whole point. They're just handing shit out all over the place. But one word of warning, don't hurt yourself testing out like somebody's equipment. Like, I have seen some videos where guys have like it was like, I think, an electronically loaded chest press or something, and this dude walking around an expo floor, traveling, no warm up, no anything, goes for full on max exertion. He got his pec right there, right? So be careful. Be careful. That's all I can say. Not that that's a big risk, but if you ever are if you're ever in that situation, just leave with your tendons intact. That's all I can say. That might be a little specific, but what are you gonna do? So yeah, I am like 99% sure I'll see you back in Ohio. That 1% is the possibility that I wake up extra early and lift before the flight, which I guess we'll see. And then we can get back on a regular upload schedule. These are going to get back to 3 o'clock. These last 3 months have been these have been pretty hectic. I've been away from home than I have been home, or I've been away from home more than I've been home. I think more than ever in my whole freaking life. Yeah, this is getting kind of nuts. But no, yeah, finally get some regular routine time. I really miss the cats. Yeah. I'll get some full-on cat, like, I'll see if I can get some really fancy kind of videos of them running around, especially when they're outside. It's like nah, they're just super freaking cute. But yeah, I'm excited to get home. That's all I got for tonight, so I'll see you tomorrow.